Welcome back, guys. We are going to continue on the game of life. Last unit, we looked at how to create a budget. And this unit, we're going to talk about when you get into the real world and actually buy a car. So it's actually going to be kind of like a simulation, but we'll get through to that. We need to discuss a few things, some vocabulary, some basic kind of math stuff, and some stuff in the calculator. So we're going to kind of talk about some stuff first, and then we'll get to that. Today, we're going to be focusing on learning how interest and credit scores affect the total cost of borrowing money. So follow along with me on your notes. We're going to talk about some of these vocabulary words that we didn't necessarily do last unit. So the first thing is, you guys have heard the term interest before. What is it? It's the cost of borrowing money or the reward for saving money. So interest works both ways. If you borrow money and you are paying interest, or if you are investing money and earning interest. So interest earned, I just explained that. Your money grows. That's for things like savings and investments. And interest paid are money that cost you things like loans and credit cards. So is all debt bad? Well, first of all, debt is money borrowed that must be repaid, usually with interest. That's what debt is. But is all debt bad? Not really. I mean, there's types of debt that can be considered good debt. And those are things that actually add value to your life. So things like maybe investing in your education or in homes have something called equity that the prices go up. So by the time you go to sell, you have what's called equity. We'll get to that later. But good debt is typically considered an investment that will generate income or appreciate over time. So mortgages, which is home loans, student loans, business loans, investment loans, all things that are going to benefit you. Now they can still be considered good debt and not be a good thing always, just depending on what you're doing. But bad debt is things that don't really create value and can lead to financial strain, such as credit card debt or payday loans, like getting a cash advance, personal loans for non-essential purchases. Non-essential meaning you don't need those things. Any debt that doesn't generate a return. And then auto loans or luxury vehicles. So when you repay debt, talking about repaying this good or this bad debt that you have, you will start to establish what's called a credit score, which you have heard before. That is a 3-digit number ranging from $300 to $850. It's not dollars. 850, and it represents how reliable you are when it comes to borrowing money. The total amount you pay is often influenced by your interest rate, which is typically determined by your credit score. So the amount you pay towards your debt, it kind of all goes together. This number is based on your history of paying bills, handling debts, and using credit. So it can go up and down based on various factors. I don't know exactly what all I have in here, but just to kind of pinpoint that, like you can pay all your bills on time, and then maybe in the month of December, you have all these credit card offers that have really good deals, like free $100 credit or 5% cash back on purchases through this time. So you go and you apply for 3 credit cards in a month. Well, that's could be considered excessive credit use, even though you're paying your bills and you're paying off those cards. It's a lot of credit activity in a short period of time. So those are some things. Obviously, paying bills late, things like that, can affect your credit score. So a higher credit score typically will mean a lower interest rate, and a lower credit score will be a higher interest rate. So keeping up with having a good credit, being responsible with payments and things like that is important. High credit scores usually qualifies you for lower interest rates, reducing overall cost of borrowing, and generally means you're more likely to get a loan approved. On the other side, low credit scores may lead to higher interest rates, resulting in more money paid back over time and or the denial of a loan you were trying to obtain for things like cars, houses, and student loans. Is that it? Sorry, my computer messed up, so I had to pause it and restart it. So credit scores are very important when you start looking at your future in terms of loans and establishing better credit and getting and not paying as much money on interest and things like that. So how do you get a good credit score? Some of these hopefully um, not necessarily obvious, but um, these what I talk about, we hopefully you can relate or you at least agree with. Pay your bills on time. Late payments can significantly hurt your credit score for sure. Avoid opening too many accounts at once. That's what I just said a second ago. Each new credit application can temporarily lower your score. And then keep your card, credit utilization low. Try to use less than 30% of your available credit at any time. This shows that you can manage credits responsibly. So if you get approved for a $10,000 credit card, that's saying don't max out that credit card. Um, have it like have $10,000, but maybe only spend 4,000 and keep that credit card open with that available credit in it, and then pay it off if you can, so you don't have to pay interest. How to get a bad credit score? Miss or late payments. Consistently paying bills late or not at all can severely damage your credit score. Defaulting on loans, failing to repay loans can lead to bad credit and make it harder to borrow in the future. High credit utilization, using a large portion of your available credit to make you look like a risky borrower. So to summarize, building and maintaining a good credit score is important because it affects your ability to borrow money and the interest rates you'll pay, which can save you or cost you a lot of money in the long term. And maybe currently you might, or maybe in the future, you might be in a position where you're like, I'll deal with that later. Like, I really can't pay this bill right now, or something's come up, or you prioritize incorrectly and you don't think about the consequences. Well, what happens if you don't think about the consequences? Your credit gets dinged. Um, you and all of a sudden something happened to your transmission in your car, and you need to go get a new car. I mean, by new, I mean maybe a new one, maybe a used one at a dealership. Either way, if you're going to a dealership, unless you have like 15 grand in the bank, you're not going to get really much of anything. So you're going to have to be able to get a loan from the dealership or finance through a company to pay for that vehicle, and you can't do that without credit. So, and they have credit guidelines. And then once again, maybe you do get approved, but you're paying a really high interest rate because your credit score is not very good. Um, so credit score ranges. 750 to 850 is considered excellent. Very low risk, eligible for best rates, pretty much always approved for whatever they're. I mean, as long as there's a few other things that involve this, but yeah, very very good. A good credit score is between 700 and 749. Um, they're considered low risk, and good terms are available, good payback terms and interest rates. A fair credit score is between 650 and 699. They're considered moderate risk with limited options. And then anything below 650 is considered a high risk. You've not really shown that you've been responsible with paying things back. So banks don't trust you to let you borrow money because they think that you're not going to pay them back as well. And if you do get approved, you're going to really be paying for it with a higher interest rate. So let's look at a situation where we have the same loan but different credit. And you guys are going to be dealing with this kind of credit with this project coming up. But we have a motorcycle that's listed at $5,000. And we're going to, whoever's getting this is taking a loan out to pay for this. They're going to pay it back over 36 months. After the end of that 36 months, that motorcycle is considered paid for. So person A purchased this motorcycle, 36 months, that's 3 years. They have a credit score of 720, and so they get an interest rate of 7%. On the other hand, person B has a credit score of 620, and which, because their credit score is lower and also not just lower but not a very good, it's in the poor range. The interest rate is more than double at 16.99% from person A. So, what is the total paid here? We're not actually doing the math. I've already done the math for you. But This person, over the course of 3 years, has spent $5,561 towards this motorcycle. So the motorcycle is worth 5,000. So we can see clearly that in that 3 years time, 561 of that went to interest. And then person B, 1,400 of that went towards interest. So you're paying a lot more for something. And also think about the depreciation of this motorcycle. So over 3 years, you've paid $6,438, and you've also ridden that thing for 3 years. And so the cost is going to be less if you go to sell it. You might be able to sell it for $2,000, but you paid $6,400. That doesn't seem like very nice. So there's a difference of $877 there in that scenario. All right, so that is our day one, just kind of talking about introduction to how interest and credit scores affect the total cost of borrowing money.